So I was going to talk about archiving the HP handheld user groups and how that's kind of evolved over the years. And so this is a piece of an article from one of our Philadelphia area PPC chapter handouts. And it mentioned in April of 1998 that earlier in the year there had been some discussion and research needed to be done, and I was constantly going back to my physical copies of PPC Journal, and suddenly the light bulb lit, and I thought, well, why don't we scan those things and get them in electronic form? So at this point, it said over the past 10 weeks, I've been preparing a two CD set of information for reference of older HP calculators. And there was always more to do. So in 1998, the first CD set was born, and it was a 2-disc set where the first disc included the stuff from California, the 65 notes and the PPC Journal and PPC Calculator Journal. And that overflowed quickly, so a second disc was created to hold, as you see here, PPC ROM manual and Chew Chronicle, Calculator Journal, HPX Exchange, and some of the HP publications, 65 Keynote and Keynotes, and also relevant HP Journal articles. So this is what I call the jump table. Everything in the set is in the PDF format, and I have bookmarks and links everywhere so that you can stay in the Acrobat environment and click on things, and the links and the bookmarks will take you to different places in the archive. So on the left-hand side, you see this was primarily the PPC Journal issues by month and by year. And some additional stuff. These are actually the current versions of those jump tables, not from back in 1998. The second one, the one on the right, includes the Computer Journal, Chew Chronicle, HPX Exchange, and whatnot. In the second row there on the right-hand side is HP Keynotes, and a couple years ago, Felix Gross and I'm trying to remember who else helped. Sylvain Cote helped provide copies of European versions of the Keynotes, which were slightly different from the US versions. So I kind of took it on as a project and put them both sets in there. So the US sets are in blue and the European sets are in sort of a pinkish purple. And then finally at the bottom was the links to the 8 relevant HP Journal issues and calculator-related materials. So again, just to list, these are the majority of the contents of those 2 discs, which were created in 1998 and has expanded ever since. So time moved on, and we were approaching the 2002 HPCC conference representing the 20th anniversary, and Vladik had asked me in an email, how about if you scan the data file issues? So I took that on, and at the 20th anniversary, we had a third disc which represented 20 years of data file, and here are some samples. Examples of this was from the Friday night before that conference. Bill Butler, Thomas Prang. And we were in a lecture hall at Imperial College there, had quite a nice group. You see Tony Vladik and Richard Nelson at the top and at the bottom, Bruce and Frank Wales.
A little bit of Paula just on the end saying that's his wife, partner.
Right. I communicated with her a couple of months ago. When I purchased the second copy of Recall 20, and she was the one who was communicating with me.
Frank will be here this afternoon.
All right. So CD number 3 got its own little jump table there, and here's the current version. It goes all the way out to volume 37, number 2 on the bottom. I color-coded them to represent the colors that match the color of the covers of the physical copies. And again, you click on one and it takes you right there. And also some samples of the issues and how it sort of progressed from the beginning, from the David Birch time period on through to the present day. And then around 2003, a 4th disc was created to cover conference proceedings from the U.S. conferences and some of the British meetings, and also to include as much of the Australian publications as I could get my hands on at the time. And as the years went on, more and more of that stuff became available, and I incorporated it in there. But this is the picture of the disc from 2003 when it was originally released. And its jump table looks like this right now. The top part are the Australian publications, and on every one of these pages there's a note at the bottom that says items with a green background are new since the previous version of the archive. So in this case, a whole slew of HPHH publications from Sydney became available through I'm trying to remember who sent them to me. I think it was Graham Fraser. Mark, I was looking to find out his contact, and somebody emailed me, maybe it was Bruce, an email address that you found in one of the member packs, and it was a couple decades old. It turned out it was still valid. And we connected up, and he said, I've moved my house 2 or 3 times, and I looked in one box and I found this. He found the stuff. So he sent me a whole lot of issues that I didn't have, and I added them in most recently. Then the bottom part represents calculator conferences, starting with the first one in 1979, Santa Clara, California, and on up to the 2021 conference in Nashville last year. So I forget who it was. The name escapes me, but somebody finally sent an email and said, well, now that you got 4 discs, why don't you consider combining them all into a single disc, a DVD? And I figured out what to do and finally got it together. And in April of 2010, the first version of the DVD was created. And it was archive version 1.0, like in this configuration. You'll see we had a little over 18,000 pages of materials by that point. So when you start it up, you see the pictures, which were the pictures of the covers of the CDs individually, and I made that the 4 links. So you click on one of those, and it takes you to that section of the archive. So moving forward, in 2016, I can't remember now why, but I was communicating with Richard Nelson, and since he had worked for HPCalc for quite a while, he had lots of materials that he had retained since HPCalc folded in 1997, and I had a lot of HPCalc stuff, so I decided to try to collect up sort of a library of HPCalc materials. So that got added as section 5. And if you go there, if you click on there, it takes you to the HPCalc library, so to speak, and that's divided into 4 sections. There's the individual catalogs, and then there's what Richard called the HPCalc technical notes. He wrote lots of articles and made them available through HPCalc about various calculator technical issues. Then he had news lines where you could dial up a phone number and hear a message every week that would change with news and new product information. And I had recorded a lot of them, maybe 30 or 40 of them, on an audio cassette. And we got the transcripts of a lot of other ones, and he provided them to me, and I've got that in the section. In fact, you can click on links and hear his voice with the messages. And then finally, there was a lot of miscellaneous EduCalc related stuff, so I put it into a thing called additional EduCalc materials. So by this time in 2016, we were up to version 2.24 of the archive, and it had doubled in size to over 36,000 pages. So here's the 4 EduCalc sections. So this is the catalog library, and you click on any one of it. It's the pictures of the covers. You click on any one and it takes you to the issue. And the only issues I'm missing are numbers 9 and 13. If anybody finds one, I'd love to get a copy or borrow it for scanning or whatever. According to George McCarty, who was one of the co-founders of EduCalc, they started with issue number 5 for some reason. They had no 1 through 4. I don't understand why, but so there are the EduCalc technical notes, all the individual ones, and there were only a couple that we couldn't get our hands on. I found a bunch of them towards the end of the EduCalc life. They finally got a web page, and before they folded at the end of 1997, they were putting links to the technical notes up there, and I actually used the Internet Archive, the Wayback Machine, to find 10 or 15 of the issues that I hadn't had before, and that was really convenient. Then finally, the news lines. This is divided into 2 tabs: the 92, 93 ones, and 94 to 96. And the ones that have little pictures of the speaker, you click on those, and you can actually hear the audio of the messages. But the rest of them are just transcripts. And last, the additional materials, and in this version, there's about 30 different items of random stuff. Then in 2020, a 6th section got added, and it was sort of miscellaneous stuff related to HP that was not calculator manuals. It was mostly brochures and other kind of promotional material. And the original jump page for that lists all the items. There's some issues of the HP Basic Exchange, another publication called Key Bits, of which I'm missing lots of copies. The SMI Surveying Group's 48 Forum publication, and then some other random stuff. Some of the Solvent Integrate newsletters, of which I've gotten a few more lately, and then some sort of individual things, calculator brochures and port extender manual and various other stuff. And up to this point, this is version 2.37, we're over 45,000 pages. So this is the current miscellaneous HP materials section, which has grown a great deal. The sort of individual items is now in 4 tabs by year: 1970s, 80 to 83, 84 to 89, and 1990s and onward. And I don't know how many people in here remember a Chicago organization called Electech, which was sort of the arch rival of EduCalc, selling HP stuff. They had some interesting catalogs, and I managed to snag a couple dozen of those. So I've got a section with Electech catalogs and the pages of HP-related material. At the beginning, theirs, like EduCalc, was solely HP calculator material. And little by little, they evolved mostly into a PC store. And fewer calculator-related pages. At the end, it might have been down to 3 pages of HP stuff. And then for the things that were, I guess I call them serial material, different publications, you'll see there HPC magazine, professional computing, measurement computation news, a collection of press kits from different calculator releases, and brochures from Europe, the lower right-hand corner, and various other things. 136 items there. And then finally, the lower right, I managed to collect all the issues of the internal publication HP Measure, and grabbed the stuff related to calculators and other things of interest that I thought would be interest to us as a group, and that's divided into 5 tabs of issues. So there's 176 issues of HP Measure. And if you click on any of them, it'll show you just the few pages that were of interest at the time. So here is the current jump table, the version 2.41 that is current now, and we're up to 56,000 pages of stuff. And this is dated April 1st. I typically have each year releases in April 1st and November 1st. And I've been scanning all year, so I have a lot of stuff to add to the one that's coming out next month, including materials from the conferences this year. And finally, I just put a brief list here of the stuff that like the holy grail of missing material. PPC had special issues A through E, and issue C is the only one that I don't have. It's from 1981, and it just, I don't know where we'll find one. Data file had sample issues, and I got sample issue number 3, and I don't know of the earlier ones, so if anybody has those, I'd love to borrow them for scanning.
Is that the yellowy colored one?
I've only seen number 3, and that was green. So I don't know what the other ones are because I don't know what I don't know.
I think they did any earlier ones. There was a lot of talk about the sample issue, so I think I did
Okay.
one, and that's probably the one.
That may be the one that I have.
Number 3, I have no idea.
EDUCAUX catalogs 9 and 13, EDUCAUX technical notes, there are 3 that I'm missing. Any Newsline transcripts beyond 1996, and a smattering of Electech catalogs, which I'd love to get my hands on. The only other thing is, for those who did not pick up a copy of Eric's USB drive today, my stuff is on his drive. But if you were not getting a copy, I brought copies of my drive here to give to anyone who needs it. So. I think the only other thing, well, let me give this now. Anybody else? You're all good? I just wanted to do a quick demo because what I'm finding over the years is that people tend to just go to the directories and double click on a file, and in my opinion, that's not the way you should use the drive. And you'll see the notes on the drive that says, go to the top level directory, and there's a file called select.pdf. And if you start that drive, if you start that file, it will take you to the main starting point, and you can go from there. Okay, so if I double click, if I start select.pdf, you get the jump table, and always on virtually every page there's a bookmarks column on the left, a panel, and if you're not using Acrobat Reader, that bookmarks panel doesn't always pop up, but it's essential in my opinion. So I'll show you. If I click on a section, it takes you to sort of like an opening page, and go to the pages, and you get the jump table. And I'll just pick an issue at random here. Volume 6, number 3 from 1979. I should have picked the very next one. So issues that had a table of contents, I tried to turn it into sort of an electronic table of contents, and you can click on any file in there and it will take you to the page. On the left-hand side, you'll see here bookmarks, previous volume, previous issue, next volume, jump to issue, which takes you back to the jump page. And then there's indexes of programs and table of contents and help. So let's see, I'll click on next volume, and it takes you to volume 7, number 1, and you can see that sort of thing. So I'm going to go back to jump to issue. And let's go back to the main selection page. I'll pick section 2. And you get this here, and then I can basically click on anything. I picked the keynotes, and since there were US issues and European issues, I've actually got bookmarks that'll say if you're on a European issue, you can go to the next issue, or you can go to the next European issue and stay within that environment if you wish. You can also step between newsletters on this one. So There's HP Journal, the one dedicated to the 9100A, and I go to next issue and I get the HP 35 one and so forth. Let's go back to the jump page. We'll go to the main selection. Here's section 3, which is the data file stuff. And I should, it's hard to operate a mouse on a cloth tablecloth, but so you'll see all the issues here, and if I click on a random issue, volume 16, number 3, for instance, you get to a data file, and again, you've got links for next issue, next volume, table of contents, issues like this, and you can jump to different articles. Oh my goodness, look at that. We got an article by Mark Power on HP48 accessories. So you can see you can jump around. You don't have to go to the directory and double click anything. If you need to get back at any point, you do jump to issue, and it takes you back to the main jump table, and then there's always a back to main selection page bookmark, which takes you here. The 4th section is the Australian stuff and the conferences. Here's from PPC Technical Notes, number 17. And you'll have fun with that stuff. Personal Programmers of Melbourne, HPHH Melbourne, and finally at the bottom are all the conference proceedings, and the ones in green are the new ones since the last release, and then there's some ones down here that had some updates, so I kind of just put a green rectangle in those. And the last batch of material was from the virtual mini conference in October of 2021, and slides. From there, let's go back. Okay, section 5 is HPCalc, and if we go to the catalog list, you'll see all the catalogs. And the HPCalc catalog information comes up frequently in discussion on the HP Museum forum, and people ask, I think I saw it in a catalog. So as a result of that, I built an index of the HPCalc catalogs. And if you pick that, it's a 5-way index. There's sort by title, sort by author, sort by item type, by model, calculator model, and this one opening one is sort by catalog number. So you can step through the pages and see all, basically everything in every issue that way. Like here's the sort by model and whatnot. So that's kind of useful. Go back to the catalog library and to the main page. And here's the sort of miscellaneous HPCalc materials, such as back in the early HPCalc days, they were selling a box that they built where you hooked a calculator on top, and it would sit on the lectern, and it would show the display of the calculator. This one happens to be a TI-59 that they demonstrated.
How about TI-58?
Article in PPC Journal about the device. It was called the HPCalc. And in this version, they sold ones for the Woodstock series for 21, 22, and 25. Back to the miscellaneous stuff. At the end, I had some sort of sad articles about HPCalc closing its doors. This was one from the Palm Top paper. And HPCalc didn't really go out of business. They found that over the 3 years in the late 1990s, one of their staff had been embezzling funds and managed to collect over $250,000 of stuff. And when it was discovered, I forget if she actually went to jail, but Jim Carter, who ran the organization, decided that he was just going to shut it down, so they closed at the end of 1997.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm just curious, is it, obviously, like with Spotlight, then Spotlight might go in and index things, but if I say I wanted to find out everything about everything in there and the entire thing regardless of what document it was from, about an HB35 or 9100 or 25C or whatever.
Good luck. I don't know how, you'd have to search around.
Your task for the coming year.
Yeah.
Also, there's
It's a
no,
big company that made a lot of money on indexing. They might have, but I don't know whether it's possible.
These
Is there-
PDF files, right?
everything is PDF.
So you have to do a search within the individual.
And they're not all OCR'd. They're not all in a format to be searched. A lot of the PPC journal stuff was articles typed on cloth ribbons that were cut out and mailed in, so the fonts are bad and whatnot. So it's an adventure. I was going to mention in the news lines, you can click on one of those windows and
This is Richard Nelson with your HPCalc Handhelds and Hong Kong activity news for December 29, 1992. Don't forget, Winter Electronics Show Saturday evening dinner in Las
Turn this
Vegas,
down so
January
you can
9th.
and it's got a non-repeating
Are you a member
button.
of a top player or Hong Kong club?
yeah.
You've got
Let me know where and when you meet so the meeting notice may be posted here. Perhaps we should have a permanent list of clubs so anyone can find their closest club. At present, there are clubs in San Francisco, LA, Orange County, Chicago, and Philadelphia. Contact me at extension 106 for input, comments, and ideas. Press 5 to return to the greetings menu.
So that's a sample, the stuff I had recorded. Finally, we'll go to the section 6, which is miscellaneous HP-related materials. And this first has the individual stuff, and it's got 4 tabs of individual articles. This is the 1970s tab. Here's 80 to 83, 84 to 89, and the 1990s and onward. And again, anything in green is a new item that was not there in the previous version, so you can.
So it has things like the Christmas catalogue by HP. I know HP did a Christmas brochure.
What year?
Early, so it was. I think it would have been for the 65, 67. So what would that have been? Early.
It will be in the
mid-70s?
70s. Well, here's an example, like HP 41C software and accessories, stuff like that. Christmas catalog, I don't know. Here's another example of Series E sales amplifier, including the new 34C material. Kind of odd things here and there. And then finally on the right hand side is a link to all the publications of which there were multiple issues. I had mentioned before, for instance, Measurement Computation News, let's see, July, August 1980. I forget what exactly was in that issue that was of interest, but you can see lots of stuff like here's a press kit from the 19B, the 28S, 27S, and 17B, and articles about their introduction. This is from January 4th, 1988. And then the Electech chart. Here's issue 17 from 1989, and it's got the anything that had Hewlett-Packard products. I scanned those pages, and anything related to handhelds were included as well. So here's the HP stuff, 41, 27S, and so forth. Let's see. Let's go back, and then HP Measure. This has got tabs. The first one is 1968 to 74, and then it goes on, and then the last one is 1996 to 2000. In that last tab, there was an issue, May, June of 1996. It was dedicated to Dave Packard, who had just passed away that month. So I have a lot of stuff about Dave in here. It's interesting. There was, when this stopped in May, June 2000, and they announced in that issue that they were going to continue with another thing called HP Invent. And I've got those issues, and that'll be in the next version, and there's some. That only lasted for 6 editions. So I think that's it.
Well, that's a lot. Thank you.